Now, let us take up the concept number 5.15, polymorphism. This is the last concept of OOP characteristics. Actually, this is an implementation, application oriented concept. That means when you are writing code and all that, writing programs, you understand the importance of this. If you cannot understand it in full spirit, like previous concepts also, I don't mind. You try to understand it. I try to understand it. Whenever you are working on these concepts, definitely you understand the spirit of that, and then you can master it. Polymorphism. Poly means multiple, and morphism means forms. That is multiple forms. How you can define it? one interface and multiple forms of uh, multiple forms of implementation. This is the actual detailed meaning of that. One interface, multiple forms of implementation. First, I introduce some elements from real life. You take household mixie. Household mixie, you call it as a mixie or food processor. One, you call it as one, but you are using it for multiple in the multiple forms or multiple purposes. Okay, if you can use a mixie for a wet grinder, dry grinder, a juicer, scraper, etc. and all that. In all cases, that is mixie. You change the blades. By changing the blades, you are using it for multiple purposes. That is one interface, mixie, multiple forms of implementation. One more example I give you. Tractor. You call it as a tractor always. Then how many purposes it is being used? As a carrier, as a pump, as a generator, harvester, cultivator, digger, etc. Now you see, one interface, multiple forms of implementation. Every time the annexure change, then it is used for different purposes and all that. So that type of thing in real life. In programming also, that type of thing is required. Just a simple example I give you. That concept, one of the concepts, if you know C++, you know that function overloading. Function overloading, now you see product. This function calculate product. This is a function. In this, for one method in a same program, you are giving two integer values, int, and same program you have to give one float and float. And in the same program, one int, one float, you have to give. In other thing, all three floats you have to give. Suppose that program demands you to perform four programs. One is in one function takes only two integer arguments, other function takes two floating point arguments, third function takes int, float and float, fourth takes all three float. But you are supposed to give same name, because names you should not change. Whatever names you give it to the elements of a program should be self-explanatory. That is the basic principle. So what is the right name for that? Calculate product. Okay. Now in C, actually same method name, function name, you have to give it to many. So what should you do? The worst case, calculate product 1, calculate product 2, calculate product 3, calculate product 4, like that you have to give. That is imprudent. But because of this feature of OOP in C++, this feature is introduced. For all of them, you give calculate product only. Don't bother calculate product, you give. But one interface, calculate product, multiple forms of implementation. Actually, one more example, by this you can understand. In your class, there are 3 students having the common name Mohan. Then the teacher called Mohan, which Mohan should attend that. Then what teacher does? They take initials K Mohan, S Mohan, P Mohan. Understand? Then instead of calling Mohan, K Mohan, S Mohan, P Mohan, then 3 are identified distinctly. Here see, system also calculate product, one interface, same name, but here this is called signature. Signature is changed. Technically it is called signature. Signature is different. Understand? Then if you call, suppose if you pass arguments like this, calculate product, you make a, now we have given 10, 21. Then which is the appropriate? Mission, the compiler makes the binding. This is appropriate. Suppose you are giving like this, calculate product 1.1, 7.9. Then which is relevant? This is relevant. Now how K Mohan, S Mohan, P Mohan and all that, depending on this, the compiler identifies which is the matching definition. This is not this thing, this is, you feel this is a definition, a matching definition is implemented, then corresponding results are produced. This feature is called functional overloading in C++, but C does not have this thing. That's why in C library there are 2 methods, fabs and labs. Both are calculating absolute value only. But why fabs and labs? Actually this is absolute value of float, this is absolute value of long, means integer. Okay, but C overcome this limitation using the polymorphic feature, one interface, multiple forms of implementation. This is totally an implementation one. However, as a matter of principle, you understand that. And in object orientation, advanced polymorphic feature also I will explain to you. Actually, this is related to inheritance. Suppose one shape, one class is there. Shape, one class. It is having a method, a function called draw shape. Now it is having 3 subclasses. What is that? Square. Square is a subclass. A rectangle is a subclass, and a circle is a subclass. Here just see. Now already I told you easier relation. Now first we have to establish whether easier relation is there or not. Square is a type of shape. Do you agree with that? Rectangle is a type of shape. Circle is a type of shape. Now because of inheritance, what is happening? The 3 classes, subclasses are inheriting the draw shape function of the shape. How you are getting your father's property? Here this is the superclass, these are the subclasses. These subclasses obviously because of inheritance feature they inherit that one. What is that? The draw shape. Okay. Now the wonderful thing here is square class calls draw shape, square is drawn. Rectangle class calls this method, calls this function, rectangle is drawn. Circle class draws this method or function, circle is drawn. See, one interface multiple forms of implementation. This is the polymorphic feature. You may treat like a magic and no magic and all that. That is a binding, appropriate but timely dynamic binding, wherever depending on the context it is connected. So in this manner you can understand the polymorphic feature, and this is totally application oriented. Conceptually you may not grasp much. However, with my examples I am 100% sure you got the spirit of this concept.